Welcome to the Strategy Mob Podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Strategy with Jason. Today, I have a very exciting guest. We get to talk about a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. I have the one, the only, the oh-so-famous Mr. John H. Brennan. Don't forget the H. It's super important. Hey, John, what's going on? How are you doing today?
Wow, I'm excited. You know what's so funny is that here I am living in Los Angeles. Last week it was 85 degrees, and I was bragging about that to my family back in Montreal and Toronto. And then this week it's like 55, and I can't complain about it because they're going to laugh at me.
That's 100%. You just can't do that with people up here. It just doesn't work.
I can't do that, you know. So I bundle up. I wear my winter clothes at 55 outside. So
I can't. I'm not going to go there. I'm jealous at 55. 55 would be amazing right now.
No,
by the way, I'd be like, that's short weather for me. Hey, John, for everyone out there that's watching and listening right now, and kind of don't know about you or kind of how you got started, or what is that origin story? Let's start there. So what is the origin story that is John H. Brennan?
Well, it's a long story. I was one of six. I grew up in Montreal. My mom was French Canadian. My dad was Irish American. So I was blessed from the beginning with a dual citizenship. So borders were never a problem for me. I went to Loyola and I got a degree in business. Started a small business with my brother to produce corporate events. And then I was drawn into the acting community. I mean, it's a longer story there, but so I started acting. I was acting for over 20 years, both in Canada and the United States. I was on soap operas. I did 50-some commercials. I had a TV show
that
was shot in Vancouver called Border Town. It was a story of a Mountie and a Marshal. I was the Mountie.
Okay, I was going to guess that was the case because you definitely have that Mountie look.
Yeah, I can't fit in the outfit anymore, but I mean, it was 30 years ago. So, so that was what brought me to California. So acting brought me to California, and I continued to do that. And as I transitioned, having a house here in California, 2 kids, I have 2 boys. They're older now. I started transitioning into doing corporate training, which was really just another way of doing performing.
Sure.
So I did corporate training for over 20 years, and I married a lot of the things that I learned as an actor. And yet I didn't talk about myself as an actor because I thought it might confuse people. But some of the things I learned as an actor applied very well to some of the lessons that we were teaching in corporate training. And most of my training is in the automotive industry. So I've literally crossed the continent. I actually drove a car. I drove a Jaguar, big, nice, beautiful Jaguar from Victoria, BC to St. John's, Newfoundland. So
that's
it was something and that was somebody paid me to do it. So it was awesome. So that's kind of what brought me here. And I'm in the process. I wrote a book and creating a workshop and an online program on emotional intelligence. And the connection to elevating the guest experience or the client experience or customer experience, any one of those. So that's certainly what brought me here today, is everything I learned in my journey has culminated into this emotional intelligent connection.
So do you kind of feel like is this your second act?
Well, it's funny. We talked about that a little bit because I think a lot of people are creating their second act. Mine is actually my third act. This would be my third act.
Okay, your third one. There you go.
So because acting, I guess, was my first big chunk of time, and then corporate training was the next big chunk, and squeeze those together for this encore. Let's call it an encore.
We'll call it an encore. But you know what, though? I think a lot of people in our industry can actually relate with that. There's a lot of folks in the automotive space right now that this is their second act or their third or possibly their encore. But I find that getting into the industry in the last 5 years and getting to the industry now, wow, what just a monster difference, not the social impact that our world has gone through in the last 12 months has really opened, I think, our eyes to the way we communicate with our customers, but not only the way we communicate with our customers, but also how we connect and communicate with our staff. And emotional intelligence has so much to do with that. And this is actually why I'm super excited to have this conversation with you because I'll admit something. My emotional intelligence is crap. I'm the first one to admit that I am actually horrible at this. But over the last 5 years, I've gotten a lot better. But I've had to force myself to kind of understand, why I feel the way I feel, or why others, and just try to connect more with people. But let's step back. I think before we get into the depth of it, with emotional intelligence is kind of a buzzword. And there's a lot of people that may be listening, watching right now, and don't necessarily even understand exactly what that means. So let's start there. How do you define emotional intelligence?
Well, because a lot of this stuff is just really simple, straightforward stuff. It's not something you can evolve and get better at it, but we all have it because basically it's understanding your emotions, right? And deciding, okay, today I'm having a really bad day,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's say before I came on with you, I had a disagreement with my son. So my attitude was not really in the right place when I sat down so I needed to adjust my attitude, which is it's like understanding my emotions. This is not the emotion I need right now. I need to reach out to a different place and bring that to the forefront. So that's the first part, is understanding your emotions and deciding how to use them to better the relationship. The next part is understanding whoever you're speaking to's emotion, right?
Yes.
I'm sure you're much better at it than you think. We all use it with our relationships. So I've been married 38 years or 39 years.
This is on record
And
now. We might have to fact check this.
So I find I use it all the time. I use it all the time in my relationship with my wife. I use it all the time in my relationship with my kids. I'm not always successful at it because I think it's just, it is what it is. Emotions
Mm-hmm.
are what they are, and certain things push our buttons. So the idea is first your emotions, understanding what they are and deciding which is going to be best for me to bring forward. Understanding, reaching out and caring enough to understand the person's emotions and automotive.
Yes.
I want to understand, why are people buying a car? What's their thought process? Why are they bringing in to have their vehicle fixed? So I can understand without meeting them yet a little bit kind of what their mindset might be. But then as I meet them, I have an opportunity to listen, observe, and understand where they are emotionally for a moment so that I can use both that information to create a better relationship, right? So it's my emotions, their emotions, and the decision to meld them together to create a better relationship.
And I found, because I've gone through this kind of journey for the last 5 years, is that it took me a while to kind of truly understand my own emotions. And that sounds like an easy thing to do, right? That it sounds like it's easy to go, well, you're angry or you're upset, but it was one thing for me to actually, and for me, like, I have to literally systemize everything. Otherwise it never works out. So, I actually went through a process of documenting my emotions. And then once I was able to document them, and then as I was going through them, I was able to then continue my documentation of why am I feeling this? Now, once I understood why I had these emotions, holy crap, my world just exploded, just opened up. Now I was able to empathize with others and understand that the way they felt it was their emotion. And then I was able to respect that and understand that emotion is theirs. It's not mine. I don't necessarily need to own it, but I need to respect somebody else's. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big things is that you can choose the attitude that you want. I use an example that I think everybody could attest to. And growing up in Canada, growing up in Montreal, I was kind of an angry driver. I think, I would drive, and somebody would cut me off, and I would like chase them down and all that kind of stuff. Well,
isn't everybody from California?
Yeah, you move to Los Angeles, people will shoot you. But one time I was doing it actually, and somebody cut me off, and it bothered me. So I followed them for a while, and then I got close enough to them. I gave them a physical gesture of my emotional feelings. And my 15 or 16-year-old, who I was about to teach him how to drive, he said, "That was really mature, Dad." And it really whacked me on the side of the head. And that day forward, I decided not to get aggravated by those situations. Someone taking your parking spot, someone kind of cutting you off, and just assuming that I don't know what's going on in their life. Maybe
100%.
their mom's dying, or maybe something's happening in their life that they're not aware of it. So by choosing not to be upset, it completely changed my relationship with drivers out there, and it's made me better. And it was just a decision about how to control my emotions, and that's true on anything. As a manager,
listening to that story. No, go ahead. But listening to that story, have you seen that? There's a new movie out with Russell Crowe. And the whole time you're telling me this story, all I can think about is this movie and the story of this guy. They have a little bit of a fight. While they're driving, the one character does something to the other one, and they can get upset, and then Russell Crowe loses it and pretty much just chases this person down for the entire movie, right? So while you're telling me this, that's all I can think about.
Because a lot of us are like that, and we can be like that about, today is such a fragile situation, practically, especially down here in the States, whether it be political, financial, or medical. There's lots of things people are going through and that. So, and it's easy to get upset about everything. But it's a lesson in using your emotional intelligence, and sometimes trying to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, because you just don't know what they're going through.
No, you really don't. And look, our industry, the automotive industry, all right. Let's just say it's known for not having a whole lot of emotional intelligence. And you know what, I've now since I've kind of gone over this 5 years and I've kind of gone through this journey with myself, trying to figure out kind of why is that the case? And I thought about it, and I remember very clearly, as a young car salesman in this business, being told, all right, to check my emotions at the door and suck it up, buttercup. All right. And that was it. So we were not allowed to actually feel anything. All right. No matter what was going on in our lives, we literally had to leave it at the door before we came in. And I think the mess up part is that we want our salespeople and our staff to connect with customers on an emotional level. But as staff, we weren't allowed to actually have emotions ourselves. So I've always felt like there's been a disconnect there. And I always think that's a big reason for one of the reasons why we have high turnover, why, there's a lot of stress and mental health issues within our business. But, I think it comes down to actually getting the dealership to buy into emotional intelligence and to use it. So how do we do that? How do we get that buy-in?
Oh, 100%. I mean, listen, over 20 years of doing corporate training, I've done everything from going to Korea to train the international heads of training on a new initiative. And the reality, like you mentioned, first of all, any change has to come from management, has to come from ownership. And unfortunately, the industry that we're in has for many, many years had a really bad rap, but it deserved it, right? Because it was all about selling your next car. It wasn't about building a relationship with this customer. And that's really short-sighted. It's really, really short-sighted. And just, putting bodies out there is just not the way to build your business. And a quick example, before I got into this business, I had a bad experience with an automotive manufacturer, and because of the way I was treated. And so I left that dealership where I was I'm still a lay down today, right? So a car I really wanted to buy, really, really wanted to buy. But I didn't like the way the guy talked to me. And this was the manager here. I was sent into the closer, right? Anyhow. And so I ended up going to the luxury division of that same OEM. And the way I was treated when I went into that dealership changed everything. And it really made me realize how if you treat people well, they'll want to buy from you.
Absolutely.
And so I actually bought 6 vehicles from that same dealership. Now, there was 2 things that were happening. Unfortunately, I didn't buy from the same person every time because they changed out all the time. So it was very short-sighted on many people, and people didn't follow up very well. Now, the service department did the job of selling me the car.
Yes, exactly.
The service department treated me with respect and well and all that jazz and made me come back. But the last time I went in to buy a car, the young salesperson was not knowledgeable, didn't know how to do. I had to teach him how to do a test drive.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to buy a car. Ended up buying a car I didn't even. I needed more than I wanted. That this is what I needed, and I assumed that it had a bunch of things in it that it did not, because it was the premium level and people couldn't answer my questions. Make a real long story short, I bought a car that was under content. I wanted more content. You could have sold it to me, but anyways, they just wanted to sell me a car. But because of that, I was done. I have not gone back to buy a vehicle because of the treatment, not the car, not the product. But even when I dealt with management and ownership, I did not feel valued. And to tell you the truth, what happened was that it was a change of ownership.
Yep.
So same location, same product, loved the product, wasn't treated well. I'm not going back.
Oh, no, look, that totally makes sense. And I don't think anybody should expect you to, right? But I mean, this is the problem, right? There are still a lot of dealerships out there that are transaction selling. And look, we know as an industry that's not the best way to do it. It is emotional selling. It is connecting, relationship selling, right? We say this,
but I think it's the second biggest thing they're going to buy, right?
It is. It's huge, right? But look,
Yeah.
as an industry, we say this kind of on one side of our mouth, and then the other side of the mouth, we're like, but we're not going to treat our staff that way. we're gonna expect our staff to connect with them at a relationship level, an emotional level, but we won't do that to our staff. So I'm gonna push you again. So how do we get management to buy in that emotional intelligence is not something that you just use with customers, but it's actually something that you use day to day, day in, day out within your own operational processes?
Well, there's a whole bunch of things that are interesting. One of the analogies that came to mind was managers should be playing chess, not checkers, right? Checkers, each piece has the same value no matter what. I treat them, they do different. In chess, each piece is unique, moves a unique way. I need to deal with my people in that way also. That all we want in life really is to be valued. Do I have value? Okay,
yes,
so
100%.
I made a mistake. Can you help me? As compared to just berating me. And so in the book, one of the things that I talk about, because I really kind of mesh both the acting, what I learned as an actor in observation, in communication, and all those things are meshed in there with the 20 years of training. And one of the things also that I learned a lot from was an organization called Positive Coaching Alliance. It's a national organization that helps sports. So first of all, you need to value your people. They don't feel valued a lot of the times. And I came up with a little acronym that you need. It's called PEER, PEER.
I love it.
You need to praise, right? Praise when somebody does something good. I don't care if it's your kid, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever. Just something good. Say, hey, that was a great job, man. I really appreciate that, right? That was really good. The other one is encouragement. Encouragement is the beginning of a circle of success. If you encourage somebody, right, they feel they will get more confidence, right? It builds confidence, and confidence creates success. Success creates encouragement, which, so encouragement creates confidence. Confidence creates success. So I want to find ways to encourage my people. One of the great things in sports that they would teach young people was the Dirty Shirt Award. So it wasn't about the kid who was the best player on your team, whatever. At practice, it was who put in the most effort. So they celebrated effort, because if you put in as much effort, you'll get better at it, right? And, there's such a huge turnover in our business. And the biggest reason is because people leave managers and owners.
Yeah, that's totally true. What it is here's what it is. I think, and I love this acronym PEER, by the way. Like, I really, really like this. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are watching and listening right now go, damn, that's a good idea. But I got to tell you something. I hate good ideas. I truly do. I've said this probably many times on other podcasts before, but I really hate good ideas because a good idea is just that. It's a good idea. And if it's not deeply rooted into a process, we are so process driven. Sports is so process driven, right? You can't come in and say, well, you know what? If you swung this way a little differently, this is what, like that's a good idea. But if we don't embed that good idea into a process, then it just doesn't get executed on a regular basis. And that's where I think we fall short. We kind of talked about this earlier, is execution. So here's my question to you then. How do we take pure, because I love this idea, and how do we embed it into a process? What is it? What do you think that looks like?
I keep referring back to the book because in the book, basically, there's three different pillars, right? So whether I'm a salesperson or a manager, they work the same. Is I got to make it simple to be able for people to communicate with me. If they're afraid to talk to me, that's no good. So I got to make it easy to communicate. I got to make it easy how can I make your work job easier? The next big thing is personal. I think I got to make it personal to each individual, know a little bit of their name, know a little bit something about their family or whatever, what's going on in their life, because you don't know what they're bringing in, but they might be having some terrible thing in their lives and they're not doing their job really well. And you're chastising them and they're just hating you.
Yep.
As compared to you saying, hey, listen, I heard that your wife is sick and stuff like that. How's she doing? All right. Right there. I tell that person that you're important to me and I value you, right? And the next thing is to be proactive. Proactive is knowing what's going to happen and trying to head it off, right? Is taking care of people's problems. Like if you order, okay, listen, I want my sandwich, but I don't want the green beans. As compared to saying, well, I'm sorry, it comes with green beans. And so, you know what? Let me see if I can do that for you. Right. So whether it be a customer or a peer, a client, it works the same. So it's the same thing as using your emotional intelligence with each one of your not participants, but your the people that you manage. And they got to feel like you care about them.
100%. Like, hey, look, if you think 100%. Of some of the best leaders we have out there, I'm thinking of some of the best managers, the best leaders that I've ever worked with, that I looked up to as mentors and say, I want to be like that. That is 100% a consistent trait with every single one of them. I felt like they gave a damn. And you know, it's like I was actually talking about this on an earlier podcast today because I don't have a sales team, right? And I'm just now thinking about hiring and putting together a new sales team. But for the last, 4 years, I've operated without a sales team. And the reason for that is because I didn't think anybody cared about what I do for a living unless they know how much I actually care. So before they were willing to listen to what I actually do for a living, I think they needed to know how much I cared. So that's why I pushed into building content and putting myself out there. Now, the funny thing is actually in a business perspective, that worked out great for me. Because instead of me going down, knocking down doors and taking names and trying to generate traffic, now people are coming to me. They're connecting with me because how much I care about the industry. And that has created a sales funnel for me. It wasn't intentional. It was the byproduct, but it's been an amazing 4 years because I'm emotionally connected to those individuals.
Absolutely. Years ago, I've never really had we all have bosses, right? But I never worked in a company environment and that sort of thing for a long period of time. So, I don't necessarily care to work for people, but I was doing a program years and years ago, and it was actually one of the OEMs are creating a financial institution. So it was a big deal. It's a big national program. And one of the managers impressed me so much that I said, this is a guy I would work for. Because I saw him when he would come in, talking to the participants and stuff like that, and saying, "Hey, Joan, are you still coaching your daughter in basketball or in volleyball, whatever? How's that going?" So he made a personal connection with that person. Then he would say, "Joe, I heard you hit your goal on this in the sales in the last quarter. Good job, man. That was awesome." Then he knew people's names. He made each one feel valued and important. And those
100%.
people will go the extra mile for you. They'll work the extra hour. They'll do the extra thing because they know you care about them.
Well, and I think what it is showing how much you care is a big part of emotional intelligence, right? I think there's many, many
Yes.
facets. So, I think it's internal, right? Understanding yourself and then understanding others and respecting that. But then, how to, I guess, try to utilize that knowledge is then how you connect with others. And I was kind of think of like the four love languages, right? My language of how I express compassion or respect for somebody is entirely different. And this is something that I've actually found, in our industry, another example of just total lack of emotional intelligence is how we motivate people. Look, I understand that I've worked with a lot of managers that get motivated by a whip, and that's kind of the, oh no, I don't want anybody cracking into me, so I'm going to stay motivated by just keep moving, just keep moving, just keep moving, right? Or they need a big booming deep voice, that's just, that's what's going to motivate them, or they need that locker room motivational speak. That's what's going to motivate them. But I find that the farther I go into understanding my own emotional intelligence is that I've been motivating a lot of my staff the wrong way. And because I've been motivating them the way I get motivated, not necessarily the way they get motivated. And do you see, like, what is kind of some best practices to motivate your team, with emotional intelligence?
It's really interesting because we, particularly in the automotive industry, we motivate people by money. And we're all
Exactly.
motivated by money.
100%.
But study after study after whatever, they've discovered that what people value the most is praise and recognition.
Yes.
Because that way I'm not only showing I value you, but I'm presenting you to the group. I say, Jason, this last week has really done an outstanding job by doing this, and that, so good for him, that sort of thing. And listen, a little bit of money is always really nice, but praise and recognition is so powerful. And that's true whether you're doing sports or you're a dad or you're a manager, and it's just invaluable. Praise,
what I'm thinking
recognition, encouragement.
But to get to that place, you have to be in a mindset. You have to be in a mindset.
It comes back to the whole emotional. You have to
Exactly.
be thinking about the other person.
100%.
Right?
So how do we maintain that? Because that's my kicker. I got to be honest with you. If like, look, I can do this, and sometimes I can do it really well, and then other days I can't do it so well. All right. So kind of going into that routine of staying in that mindset. Like, how do we ensure that we're always in that mindset?
Well, I think you can try to find some triggers for yourself, because you're right, Jason. It's not easy. It's not like, oh, okay, I got this. I learned it. I know what 4 + 4 is. I'm good. No, it's an ongoing process. Disney has Disney. You can take a whole week course at Disney to. It really talks about emotional intelligence, customer service, but I can bring it down to some pretty easy stuff. First of all, when you step onto the floor, you're on stage, right? So you got some baggage you brought in from home. Leave that in the locker room. Not your emotions, right? Leave that. Now when you're on stage, when you're on Main Street in Disneyland, it's all about the guest.
Yes.
And how can I help the guest? I got to forget about, I can't, my problems are going to be there when I go home or when I go back to the locker room. But when I'm on, right? It has to be sincere. I've been to places where they said, they told the whole staff, I want everybody to say hi. I want you to say hi to people, And I had some guy, and he was like, he was attacked, was coming through, and he was just saying hi to people with an angry look on his face, like, hi, yeah, hi, yeah, hi. But it wasn't sincere. It's like you can tell when people have been trained to say certain things. You'll go into a restaurant, right? You go into Subway, everybody say, they'll welcome you. But it's not, it's a throwaway. It's 100%. Not sincere. It has to be sincere. It can't be fake. People can tell if you're faking, right? People can tell over the phone if you're smiling. So in person, they can tell if you're lying. So when you say, oh, we're welcome to, such and such a dealership, happy to see you here. Are you really happy to see me? Are you really? I tell this story at a shop. Everybody's gone shopping, right, for food and stuff like that. So I was in line to have my, to check out. And the lady who's checking the people out was going, "Hi, how are you? Did you find everything today?" Never looked up to the customer, never looked up,
Yep.
So they always it was an automatic thing. It wasn't, so it's useless. It's zero. When I came up to her, right, she said, "Hi, how are you today?" I smacked my hands down on the counter and I said, I'm not good today. How are you? How are you today?" And so she was really, concerned. I said, "Sir, are you okay?" I said, and then I just break and made it fun. I said, "No, I'm just sorry. I just want to know if you really wanted to know if I was having a good day." And I am having a good day, so,
Yeah.
but hopefully the next person will get a more genuine, a welcome, There's another acronym out there called for trust. We're all trying to build trust. It's the same type of thing. And mine,
For sure.
I tweaked it a little bit. The T in trust stands for truth. You got to be truthful. You want to be, as a manager, I got to be truthful. The R is respect. I need to respect you. And then you need to respect me. But I have to earn respect. I'm going to give you respect. The U is understanding. There has to be an understanding from the two people, right?
I like that.
S is being sincere.
Yep.
To build trust, I need to be sincere. If I'm not sincere, nobody's going to trust me.
It's not going to go where it's fake.
And the last T in trust, some people say it's truth. I say it's going to be transparent.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in our business, people need to feel transparent. Unfortunately, in the automotive business, we got a bad rap. So we have a hurdle to jump over before people even trust us, because they come in and somebody had a bad experience somewhere. So they come in defensive, right? So I got to build it.
No, 100%. And you know what I'm finding right now, and kind of listening to you talk, and I'm thinking about it. It's like, by the way, I love that other acronym. Our industry is built on 4-letter words and 3-letter acronyms, so we love our acronyms. So I'm like, keep them coming, John. But it sounds like it's all kind of boiling down to is intent, is intentional emotional intelligence. I find that, I found very early on, kind of through my journey of my own emotional intelligence, is that I would listen to these podcasts and I'd listen to these books and I'd just be like going, these are great ideas. And it's just like, and I could execute them for a little bit, but if I wasn't being intentional, it never stuck. So it's like, I almost had to literally kind of schedule out time where I was intentionally emotionally intelligent. Like, and I feel like that's it. Look, this is not for everybody. This is how my brain and my body works, is that if I don't put it into a calendar, it's like, I have to be intentional. Like, for example, I 6:00, I have, kid playtime. All right. It is in this phone because it will intentionally turn off all my notifications at 6 p.m. and my phone won't ring. And it's just so I find that I find that, that there are probably a lot of people out there watching and listening to us, and they're agreeing like, yes, I want to be there. And you know what? There are days that I am at there, but I'm finding like, I have to personally myself find a hack to be intentional for me to consistently execute it. How do you consistently execute it?
Basically it's awareness. One of the things that I connected to was, as an actor, one of the things that you had to do was be good at observation.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Which is to build characters and all that kind of stuff. So you have to be good at observing. So you get a client coming in, I need to be able to try to read that client. I don't want to judge the client because it's not. That was the bad experience that I had, right? So I wasn't dressed really sophisticated, and I looked very young at the time. So the guy didn't think I could afford the car. Well, I just finished a TV series. I was flying, but he didn't know that. But he prejudged me, and he lost me as a customer. Somebody else I bought 6 cars from. So anyways, so there's a difference between observation and judgment, right? So I think if I put some of my attention on observation,
I like that,
right? Not only on myself, but on who's in front of me, right? So whether it's your children, right? You've got 3 children. Every one of those kids is different. I only got 2, but I come from 6, and every one of them is different. We have certain values and all that. So how to approach my 2 children is completely different.
Yes.
completely different. And I have to use my emotional intelligence with my 23-year-old every day because he challenges me. I call him my parental opportunity. So that's how words can kind of, because,
I love it.
he
Sometimes words
challenges me
can
to be a
create
better
intent.
parent every day.
Yes.
But I use my emotional intelligence. I'm not always successful at it. But when I realize I'm going off, I say, wow, man, I'm off the rails here. I need to dial that back in and start saying, okay, so where am I coming from and where is he coming from? Right? Maybe I'm not communicating. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what he said, as compared to just flying off. Right?
Oh yeah,
Managers
100%.
do that all the time.
Oh my gosh, all
They
the time.
don't, they'll just fly off as compared to saying, okay, let's sit down, let's talk about it, let's see what the situation is, so that I can then make a proper decision. I wish there was an easy click of a finger, but people find all kinds of little tricks.
No, but
right?
I actually like that trick because I think it's intentional observation. I don't think we give ourselves enough time to do that. I think too often we just kind of literally jump into it feet first, and we don't really give ourselves the time to observe and use our own emotional intelligence to understand, why am I feeling this way? Why could they potentially be feeling this way? Get to that level of mutual respect and then goes directly into it. So I actually think that's great. I mean, I think, to speed up, we got to slow down in a lot of cases. I mean, we use that term a lot in our industry, and you have that natural intentional observation because of your experience in acting. And I think anybody out there watching, listening right now can kind of take that. And it's really what we're saying is, take those 3 minutes, take those 2 minutes, a minute and a half. I don't know how long it takes you to do it, but just to step back and intentionally observe, all right, the individual and the emotion that they're going through, and just respect that emotion. And that way, I think we can all move forward. Look, John, I know we're getting towards the tail end of our time. Boy, this has been one hell of a conversation. I mean, we've talked about our second act, our third act. We've talked about, what is emotional intelligence. We've covered the buy-in and why leaders need to lead with emotional intelligence, and then how to motivate with emotional intelligence. And then, of course, some amazing acronyms. I love PEER. I love TRUST. We're going to have to put that into the comments below so people can read through those and kind of consume those. But hey, before I let you go, John, I think everybody out there that's watching and listening right now who would love to connect with you and continue this conversation, or follow along with your journey, what is the best way to do that?
Well, you can actually buy the book, which is a really, really easy, simple read. And then you can get that on Amazon, either .ca or .com. It's just called The EI Connection. And you can also, my website is evolving because there's a bunch of stuff that's going to be adding on there. But that's a good place to, check out what I've done, what I'm doing. And that's basically www.johnbrennan.com. So make sure you put the H in there. And the H stands for humor, because I'm a big proponent of, we learn in moments of pleasure. And it was something that I always brought to every class, or every thing that I presented, is just a little bit of humor. And you can also, that can be valuable in dealerships. I'll give you this one last thing about humor, which again, it's but using your emotional intelligence, not just, and I'm learning that too. You can't make jokes that I thought were funny 60 years ago that aren't funny today. My kids tell me all the time. But the reality is that I would go to a dealership where there was no humor. People didn't.
The air feels thick, right?
And then I met the manager or the owner, and I got, oh, that's why. And it was a place that I said, I would hate to work here, because people just are either afraid to enjoy each other's company or whatever. It was terrible. So, to leave you with, it's having a sense of humor with all of this is so valuable.
100%.
That's
awesome. Hey, John, this has been such a great jam session. I've had a lot of fun doing this. Thank you so much for your time. I encourage everybody watching and listening, reach out to John, connect with them, check out the book. I'm going to consume it here very shortly, so I'm excited to do that. Thank you.
Well, there's more acronyms in there for you.
Oh, great. I love acronyms. I can't get enough of those. Thanks, John. You have yourself an amazing day.
Jason, a total pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy Mob Podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Don't want to miss new content? Be sure to sign up to be a mobster at strategymob.com to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.